Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Tech Productions. Today I, Bancroft, being joined once again by Jimmy, Jake, and like always, Fluff.
Sure.
What's going on, yo?
What's up, beautiful people?
And like always, there's buttons down below. Feel free to click them, there for reasons. Today's matchup is Set 15 Broly versus Set 15 Cabba. Me versus Jake. I guess let's get into this. We saw Jake and I think Fluff both playing Cabba last weekend. And I think when you guys were talking about it over the weekend, you guys kind of took ideas from each other. So I think the deck you're kind of playing is kind of like a mixture between the two now.
Yeah, they ended up really similar, just about like 6 or 8 cards different. We looked at each other's list after the tournament and laughed about it.
Yeah, like they were super close. But I think like if you're gonna play the full package, I think there is ultimately only one way that this package can take the deck. Really. I mean, correct me if you think that I'm wrong, but I don't think there's really any way for this deck to wiggle.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with, frankly, I guess both of our lists at the time, or at the moment, is that they're kind of riding that line between aggro and a more like mid-range style. And I think not going all in on the aggression is kind of the culprit there. But at the same time, the leader's abilities all kind of lean defensive. So it like puts you in a spot where you want to build the deck defensively, but the cards in the deck don't really lend themselves to that kind of usage.
No. And I don't know that the deck itself doesn't fit my personal play style. I thought that it would more than it actually does. But I was thinking about that today. Like, if I were to go back and revisit this deck for the channel, I would build it in a completely different, off the wall kind of way than what it's sitting at now, and probably not run the arrival mechanic.
Yeah, I was really excited for this leader to breathe new life into those old Set 7 arrival cards, and not a lot of them have survived the passage of time. A lot of the new toys we did get in Set 15 are really fun to play with, but I think ultimately their power level is to be determined.
Probably better in something like Soul Striker.
Maybe like a multicolored Soul Striker or something to that effect. Yeah.
Stay tuned until this next week. You might see something similar to that.
At the same time, though, if I do say so myself, I feel like in blue there's ways to get more effective finishers than the big 8-drop you see in my energy there. But maybe I'm wrong.
To kind of piggyback on these cards being maybe more useful in Soul Striker, I think out of every archetype in this current set, the blue archetypes have the most usable staples to come from it. So we see the 8-drop Kefla. If you play blue-yellow, you can slot it into your list. The Vados that is in the energy is one of my favorite cards to come out of this set, and I think it's kind of like a really underrated blue tech that could be put into pretty much anything.
So, unfortunately for me, most of the time this weekend, I was only really able to utilize it against 1-drops, and in that usage, it does feel good to board the dual attacker, but at the same time, you kind of just groan when your opponent just turns another energy sideways and plays the 1-drop again.
Exactly. I really enjoy the card as a counter to Floodgates. So your Topos, Bupos, Oceanus.
Oh, yeah.
You're paying the full 3 energy for it, but in some cases, that's all you need, and you get a dual attacker out of it.
Yeah, it's almost like kind of a weird blue cooler in that way, if you want to think about it that way. So, we've heard a lot about Cabba from here, and I know Bancroft and I practiced a lot, or at least tested a lot with this Red Broly list before the set came out. How do you feel about where the deck is at now, Bancroft?
a lot better now that the cards are in my hand. And I don't know where that line draws for me, where I know a lot of people like could just test on untap, like, all right, cool, I know what this is. For me, I'm like, this deck sucked. And then I start getting in my hands, I'm like, okay, you know what? This seems a little bit more usable. Got to start testing and playing it actually in person, and I liked it a lot better than I did during untap. And I just don't know if that's because I'm able to see the cards in my hands and go, oh yeah, I'm not forgetting about these cards now.
You know, I think a lot of people, there you see the almighty powerful 4K on 4K battle about to happen.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people had that experience with this Broly list as well, because I played against it quite a bit on Untap, and even against players that weren't you, it didn't really seem like that powerful of a strategy. But here you see, like, Bancroft's hand size isn't really decreasing. He's not boarding a lot, but he doesn't really have to. He's sitting comfortably at 7 life, and I can't really do much in the way of either working down his life total or his unison. So here I'm just kind of forced to let him gain card advantage over and over. And here he's just, like, reading an effect, to clarify.
So I will say, we kind of missed a lot of it early on, unfortunately. But a lot of my choices on this matchup revolved around old U6 archetype. I'm like, okay, I need to get rid of the Kel as soon as possible. I need to get rid of, if he plays Zavados and Chomp, I need to get rid of that because it makes it easier to play his big 4-drops. Because that's what I was afraid of, really. So that's why I wanted to make sure, okay, cool, what does this card do again? Okay, cool, what's its power? Okay, can I do this? Okay, now I know how to hopefully get rid of this card if this were to come up.
And that's an educated guess, because those cards were in the list last week, but they just didn't survive.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I expected them. I remember you playing them. I just didn't know how much of a change you made to yours at the time. Fluff mentioned this plenty of times. This deck kind of looks like Prison, which is something that I'm very familiar with, and the idea how it plays. Like, the deck wants a lot of extra cards because either you get to play them for free on the leader, or you get to spend 1 energy because the leader's a Broly leader, which is pretty nice. And speaking of which, real quick, the card that I discarded on my attack is a nice little tech option for this deck. It's the combination attack, which is a red-blue. Activate battle extra card, which pops a card and restands the energy. So it allows you to continue your turn after you spend an energy here or there, which is pretty nice. And kudos to Fluff for that one.
A lot of people have been utilizing the Tyranny's Cost extra card as well to draw additional cards, which is just, like, you already draw so much with this deck that tech is just insane.
I don't know if I want to do that. Most of my matchups with this deck, I think I've ended the game with like 8 to 10 cards in my deck. And I'm getting to a point where I'm going to mill myself out if I'm not careful. We'll continue pushing this. But like I said, the deck likes playing extra cards. In the sense of the leader on swing, you discard a red extra card to draw 2 cards, which is pretty nice. One of the 1-drop extra cards, pay 1, you discard it, and another extra card to draw 2 cards as well. So that way you're loading the extra cards into your drop area, which benefits the Unison, which allows you to play the 6-drop for cheaper. And then if you have 7 or more red extra cards in your drop area, on the awakened side of the leader, when you swing, you draw 1, and then you get to activate 1 of the effects there, which is actually pretty nice. Because a lot of times I'll wait for my opponent, obviously, to declare if they're doing a negate or whatnot, and depending on what they're doing. Like, one example I think I did multiple times this past weekend was people would use, like, the reinforcements, either, like you have in your deck, it's Chilled. Yeah, or Testing Opposition is one as well. So if someone were to play a blocker with that type of, like, negate, or even play a battle card with a negate, I'll end up choosing, like, Gigantic Meteorite just to blow their field up. Like, okay, cool. Well, goodbye cards.
Yeah, in this game, I really overvalued that Unison as opposed to, like, putting pressure on the leader. And because of you spending so much time unawakened, you're now, once you do get awakened, you're basically get your pick of the litter of those effects from your drop area. So that's just, a word to the wise when playing against this Broly list. You want to be more aggressive than you think you should or ought to.
Now, I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of other people's builds, but I kind of play a 2 of both the double strike and the crit, and I try to keep at least one in my hand and pitch another. That way I can at least maximize 3 uses out of them, because those cards also work on the battle cards themselves. It doesn't have to be the leader that they are used on. As long as the card is a Broly card, you'll get those additional effects. And a lot of times, the the double strike stays for turn. So if you use that on the 6-drop Broly, it already has double attack. But both the crit and the double strike stick. So if you put the crit on the 6-drop Broly, which makes it a 40k double strike crit, and then when you use an activate battle card, you get to restand it if you pitch an extra card from your hand. So technically, it's a dual attack double strike crit.
Yeah, huge.
And the 4-drop on the board is nice when it comes to the versatility of it. You can use it either to neg a battle card by 10 or neg a Unison by 15, which is what I did here in this particular turn, or at least during my turn. And that's why I swung at your leader. With my leader, I swung at your Unison and was able to deal marker damage to it because you were already neg by 15 for the turn.
Yeah, so he was just a little 5k.
And if you would have -1 to bottom the battle card on that, I could have potentially comboed up and did more damage to your Unison than you probably wanted to. And I was wondering if that's why you didn't do the -1.
Yeah, I wanted to keep as many markers on it for as long as I could, but I'm starting to realize as time goes on that like I've kind of let Red do what Red does best, which is get in a position where it could just kind of rely on its extra cards and not really have to do too much in the way of like casting its own battle cards and like attacking me in that way. Because like I'm mistakenly under the impression that you have to have some kind of chain to go up to get into that big 8-drop Broly.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent a lot of time this game just clearing your board and like trying to deny resources, which is just not the play line here.
Especially with a leader that, like I said, you pitch one to draw 2, and like it has to be an extra card, but denying my life doesn't hurt me as much. Yeah, I can't awaken and benefit off the free activate battle cards, but you are allowing me to get the hand I want. And
exactly.
I will say, though, surprisingly, most of this game, the 6-drop in my energy was the only 6-drop in my hand for most of this game. Like, I didn't see.
I was so scared of that card. So, like, you saw me pick up the extra copy of that 8-drop, but I just didn't like activate the effect and swing because I just knew he's sitting on a Violent Raise.
Well, I did Violent Ray on your 1-drop swing.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, but I guess that was a thought I had even casting it, the 1-drop. And I was like, yeah, let's swing with the 1-drop first and see.
And like I said, there's Gigantic Meteorite, which is such a great card for getting rid of big cards without barrier.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like, you did focus a lot on the 1-drop, which, yes and no, is good for me. You're spending a lot of resources on focusing on that and not my life, but at the same time, I'm also sitting at 6 life. And I would like to awaken eventually. But keep me out of the ability of potentially doing the pay 2 here and playing the 4-drop Broly from my deck to give it double strike all of a sudden and making it a 25k that on swing pops a battle card.
Yeah.
Is a good thing.
And with the extra cards you've got in your list, with a couple of super combos, you could turn those 4Ks into like really big threats. So even though they're small on the surface, I just have to keep them off the board.
Yeah, and true for true, in that instance, I swung at your Unison, and you did the -1 just to get rid of it. I did have a, I think, Demonic Playtime in my hand, and I would have comboed up just to do it again.
Yeah, I figured if I didn't lose 1 marker there, I was going to lose 2, so...
And here, using the 1-drop extra card to play it for my deck, I don't get to draw off it, though.
True.
But yeah, you're keeping me off this potential push. I'm like, you know what? Pass turn.
Yeah, was trying to keep you out of the battle step as much as possible. Was hoping you spent a good chunk of energy. So from here, it's just basically whittle out the cards in his hand as much as I can. Try and fake some things out, and maybe I can get him in a position where he has a lot of extra cards but can't activate them, and I'm able to beat him down with just pure like battle power. But like we said before, red is really good at hanging on, and they have a ton of floodgate effects. Although you can't like use topo and stuff in this list, but that's not really a detriment.
The demonic, it's the crit one. I can't remember what the actual name is for that one. If I'm correct, the 5k boost on that one is for turn. So that's kind of like a sense of being light, in the sense if I have to pay 1 energy to give my leader a 5k boost for the remainder of the turn, I'll do it. And it makes my opponent, like on those smaller cards, have to combo up higher just to get the damage in.
Yeah.
And here I paid for the imposing presence instead of just because I'm not at 3 life, so I have to pay for it.
Yeah. You'd rather keep the cards in your hand at this stage anyway.
Yeah. If I'm correct, you do get 1 swing with your Vados, and I think you pass after that.
Yeah, here we're just determining if you're going to save your 1-drop yet again or not.
Nope.
Yeah. And then Vados will go down to 14.
And if you swing again, you would have to waste resources in your hand just to do the damage. And I could have awakened if I wanted to.
Although I was considering, or I was assuming that you would like go for an awaken play and avoid the damage there. I forgot you awaken at 3. Had I remembered you awaken at 3, I probably would have swung with Vados and comboed up to 14 just to pressure another damage there.
Yeah. So we didn't talk. I don't think we talked much about this Unison yet. We did miss the -2 effect early on. So not only does Unison for +1 search activate battle from the top 5 cards of your deck, it's permanent if it has 3 or more markers, it gains double strike. But the -2 is kind of where this deck is, or where this card becomes really important. And I think at first I was like, that's good, but when does it ever come in handy? There's a lot of ways of protecting this Unison with negates, using negates and whatnot. And if your opponent underestimates this Unison, that -2, especially in the late game, will kill anything. As long as it doesn't have barrier.
Oh yeah, it's huge. And your opponent is also further incentivized to attack this Unison to like keep you from activating a lot of your effects, like keep you out of the activate battle window. But those cards don't go anywhere. You just have them to use later on.
Yeah, I think that was the instance where I swung at you. You didn't negate, so I just activate Gigantic Meteorite to just clear your board, how I was explaining earlier, using that effect.
Yeah.
So, Bancroft, are you trying to get the 1-drop to come in so you can pay the 2 to get your Brawly played out of deck? Or are you searching for a 6-drop?
So I haven't seen a 6-drop yet, for starters. So I'm kind of been thinning the deck out. But I will say, I learned... and this is where a surprise factor and the unfortunate side of best of ones come into play. Jake wasn't aware of how to truly deal with this deck. Because like I said, we play tested it and he crushed it every time we play tested it on untap. And even you mentioned you play people online. Like, once I realized he was focusing a lot on the 1-drop, I had no problem putting the 1-drop on the board just to potentially bait negates or something like that out. And he used the counterplay on it in this instant. But also, I couldn't attack, I think, with battle cards with 20k or more because
Correct.
you activated the negate.
Sister's Devotion, I think it's called. The new blue negate from set 15.
Sister's Determination.
Determination.
And I have cards in my hand that I could just boost up that 1-drop to being a decent crit or decent double strike card, so I'm okay with swinging a 4k battle card right now.
That's the problem with this 1-drop is that it just looks like a 1-drop 4K that draws him a card, but in addition to being able to replace itself, just getting able to get into the battle window for him at this stage for me with only 2 life is going to be deadly. So basically every battle card on the board is a threat. So in my mind, I have to end the game here to keep going.
And I do want to point out real quick that the timing, I did it pretty fast, not allowing Jake to do time window 1. It's okay, so we did pass it up. I played the 1-drop before he had a chance to do his counterplay. I had already called what was happening, but I put the card down way faster than he could respond to it. That's my fault for not letting him have the appropriate amount of time he needed.
You still got to draw your card, though, so either way, if I counterplayed it or not, it wasn't going to affect the game state.
It only draws a card if you play it from hand.
Right, but like what you're talking about when I chomped the one that came in?
Yeah.
Like, Chompa's not going to do anything to his skills, so he's still going to get to draw you a card. And
so
this card...
So I did a few things in this turn. I did the inputs and presents for free, and I left it sitting there. You chose not to counter. I'm like, okay, cool. So when you swung this on, I'm like, cool, I'll do a Violent Ray. And as you saw, I hesitate on putting a card with it as well to see if you would counter it.
Yeah.
And you did finally. And just having the -2 ability to neg your 8 by, like, I think I had
40,000. We counted it up.
I was like, I think that's at least 11 right there. So
yeah, plus the 5 from imposing presence is more than enough to kill him.
Yeah,
I gotta say these apes are part of when I was talking about earlier, like the deck having like a foot in 2 pools. And I'll say every time I've cast this golden ape lately, I've just lost.
Yeah, that ape is either your savior or your downfall. And that coming from someone who plays blue a lot. It can either save you or just wreck you.
Yeah, I think just spending 5 energy on it when you don't 100% know it's going to win you the game is just way too much, even with all of its other effects. At the end of the day, it's just a big dumb card that can have its attack negated. So I think personally I overvalue it and think it's just a better card than it is.
So real quick, knowing that the Cyberman token, whatever, has a 5k combo power, you could have swung again, just get me to get rid of it though. But I think you just like, I passed turn, just whatever.
Yeah, at this point I knew it was over with.
Yeah. And we can't go over, if we pass it up, I can't combo with the other super combo on my board because you negated its skills for this turn.
So you could combo with it, but you wouldn't get any draws or anything.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So, winning the match with a 45 double strike battle card, you couldn't combo up. So, that got it right there. It was still, like I said, very back and forth. I think it broke down to a lot of just best of one.
Yeah. Best of one is, it's a difficult environment to play in. You have to be able to learn on the fly and really, like, knowing what your opponent's doing even before you sit down at the table with them is how you win in a best of one environment. And this weekend, I just wasn't ready.
So with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed today's matchup. Keep in mind, there are buttons down below and on the screen while Fluff does the outro.
I think it also has a lot to do with, like, Bancroft's a prison player. And this deck is so absolutely similar to that. And, like, we got to play in the final round, the Shadow Dragon deck versus this. and I won't give spoilers as to like what happened there, but Bancroft literally had a answer to just about everything that I did. I had an answer to a lot of what he was doing, but he answered a lot of what I was doing as well. And I think that just speaks to what this deck is truly capable of at its core. But as always, read your cards, know your plays, let us make the mistakes so that you don't have to, and as always, fluff out.